I'm sorry. The office used my camera.
No. Okay.
So I don't know. I
So
don't know
you
where
could
it
be
went.
making faces and I won't know. Is that what you're telling me?
I won't. Yeah, I promise I
Okay.
won't.
All
I
right.
promise I won't. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Good. You still in
Good.
Detroit?
Uh-huh. I'm flying out today to Chattanooga.
Nice.
When do you
Cool.
get in?
I'm driving overnight Thursday, so I'll get in Friday morning.
Okay.
So I have our Elevate Daytona Beach event is Thursday night. It's our TEDx style event that my chamber leadership group puts on every year, so
Nice.
twice a year.
Okay.
So yeah, 12 speakers, 5 minutes, 20 slides, and
Oh, like an Ignite talk, huh?
yeah, kind of Ignite, comma. They call them. There's like 5 different names. So
Yeah.
we call it Elevate.
Okay.
Yeah. So I'm leaving straight from that and putting a couple hours in, and then getting there the rest of the way in the morning.
So how long does it take you?
It's about an 8-hour drive from Daytona to Chattanooga.
Wow. Okay.
If you were to chuck all the way through. So I mean, I'm gonna, probably do 4 hours, try to get around Atlanta somewhere, and then
Okay.
take a couple hours and do it again. So.
All right. Yeah, I fly into Atlanta today and I'll take that bus over so that I
Nice.
leave driving to someone else.
Nice.
So.
Who do I see is getting in? Oh, Robert Blackledge. Do you know Robert?
Mm-mm.
Catapult.
Nope.
Nice guy. Yeah, I've known him. He's presented at our 1MC a couple times. He had a startup cruise. Was him.
Nice.
Where he would actually go on a cruise, and by the end of it, you have a company. He's done that a few times. He's now the director of education for Catapult Lakeland, which is Polk County, Florida. Lakeland's, I'd say, probably one of our 7th or 8th largest cities. So
Nice.
That nobody knows.
That nobody knows. You're right.
Yeah.
If it doesn't have the mouse, nobody cares, right? Mouse or beach?
Yeah. Exactly. Mouse or beach. Otherwise, yeah, they're in between Tampa and Orlando, and so lots of lakes and lots of oranges. But no, he's a good guy. So he's doing a little tour. So you should try and catch up.
Yeah, I just don't know when our meetings are, so we'll have to see.
Yeah.
Hello, Eric. I don't see Eric either.
He is.
I'm the only one on video. What the heck?
It's so unfair.
It's so unfair because you know what happens? Then when we take the thumbnail for the video, then it's me.
Just you.
And yeah, and that's not. Well, no.
Job well done.
Whatever. Yeah, I have to just anyway. So this may be a really simple call then, because you two all both know what's going on, so we can delve into the next step.
Probably be done in like 10 minutes.
Yeah, we could. It's up to you. So you know about the format, and whatever. We'll give everybody a couple of more minutes. But I know Peter is in some conference in where is he? Hello, Amanda. Peter is at a conference in DC, so he wasn't going to make it. Now Amanda's lovely face is on. Hopefully we will take Amanda's face and put it on the thumbnail of the video for the website. So I will ask you all, how are you arriving this Wednesday morning? Tyler, how are you arriving this morning?
Invisibly. No. No, I'm awesome. Yeah, I'm good. I'm excited. We're having a great week. We had a startup grind last night, our first of the year, which was successful. Had about 80 people show up. So yay, Daytona. And tomorrow night is our Elevate event, Ignite style event, TEDx style event, whatever you want to call it. And we've already sold 460 tickets to that.
Wow.
So yeah, we've sold it out all 6 times that we've done it. So we're really excited, and the adoption has been great. And yeah, so just excited to listen in and hear what the team's up to. And so yeah.
Excellent.
I'll go and do
Amanda,
it.
do you have a thing like that in your area, an Ignite talk or something
Um,
to that effect?
so we're probably not big enough. They have some in like the Twin Cities, so we're like an hour and a half from there. We do have a TED Talks, which is kind of similar, but that would be the biggest thing. And startup weekend. We do have 1 million cups, so yeah, we're small.
Well, that's all right. It's not the size of the community, right? It's the heart. I stole Tyler's popcorn. Tyler, did you want a popcorn to somebody? You've got Eric and Amanda to choose from.
No, that's fine. Whoever wants to go.
Okay.
Amanda, there you go.
Sure. I guess I'm coming in to this today. I don't know. I just feel kind of hopeful. We've over the past 2 days, I've had really good collaborative talks with people in the community to move things forward, and I think it's just finally finding those people who share that vision. So yeah, that's been good. And I will apologize, I probably do have to leave at like 12:40 to go do one, or I don't know what time zone everyone is in, but in half an hour I have to leave to do one of those meetings, which hopefully will be collaborative. Yeah, so that's where I'm coming in. Yeah, I guess I'll swing over to Eric.
Hello. Let's see. I guess I was busy. Busy, and the other way that I'm arriving is I don't know that I've really been like on one of the calls for this goal since like months and months and months ago. So I'm just kind of excited to check in and see what's happening in this part of the world. So yeah, that's me. Thanks.
Okay, so Tyler and Eric have been on a couple of calls and they're familiar with some of the things that are going on. So we're going to level set and catch Amanda up. For the communications post ESHIP, we're going to be sending out a number of emails, posting some blog posts to let people who came to ESHIP and the people who didn't come to ESHIP kind of know what's going on around the projects. Mm-hmm. So think of the goals, the 7 goals that we're solving for. Then we have projects or initiatives under each of those 7 goals. And so then those initiatives are basically ideas of something that would solve for each respective goal. Mm-hmm. And out of those initiatives, there are people that have signed up to do projects. And right now, in this very tedious and probably my least favorite thing to do is transcribing those commitments onto a spreadsheet. So I'm doing a lot of data entry, and because I dread this, I apologize for not getting it out any sooner, but we're working on that. And then there's other things that have to go slowly. So I found in this past couple of months of working with the foundation that things work slowly, so you just have to be patient. They're coming along, but we have to make sure that things are done well. And because we have to align between everybody on the ESHIP team plus everybody else who's working on entrepreneurial stuff around the foundation, that messages and projects and all of that kind of align somewhat. Mm-hmm. So all that to say that that this work is ongoing, and there are people with, bless them, not great handwriting. So I will share with you, just so you kind of get some, or Amanda at least, who is on screen. This is what these templates look like. And so in the goal 3, this is what the project canvas for the Ecosystem Builders Open Dictionary looks like. And underneath, you will see the sticky notes of the people who committed to lead or count me in or keep me in the loop for each of these projects. So all of those names, which are in various handwriting, have to be translated onto a spreadsheet. So that's what we're working on currently. Okay. there's one interesting thing here, and it is it's a visual that that Value Web created. Actually, Sita created this in talking about what an ecosystem is, and a living complex system. It's got fields and entrepreneurs and communities and all of those things that are what we talked about. So I think this is an actually beautiful visual, and if you're on the Facebook page, you can see that, because that's kind of our banner these days on the Facebook page. So anyway, that's some of what's going on. And then of course we have newsletters to come out, and the audience of people that came to ESHIP and the people who didn't come to ESHIP are very different. So we will probably have more people joining us on the calls starting next month. So these calls should take on more of a set agenda. And the agenda that we've proposed in the document that I emailed out is, for the first 15 minutes or so, anybody who's working on a project with a project team, you would have somebody from that project report in and say, hey, this is what we're working on, and here's an update. I will update for what's going on the ESHIP team side, so that all of you are aware, and create more visibility around the work that we do in support of the community. And then we'll have 10 or 15 minute peer learning opportunity. And that's an opportunity that will be curated by all of you to think about things that you would like to know. So things around shared vision. Do we talk about things around how, who was it? I think it was Peter Kritikos had shared, they're working with governors around the oncology of on-demand workforce. So he was talking about the value of how context matters when you talk about these things, because languaging around gig economy jobs are very different, or should be different, than a traditional, say, 9-to-5 job versus an hourly job. And so all those contexts matter. And when we just use the term job to describe the thing that we do to be compensated for, like it doesn't translate as well depending on who you're talking about. So anyway, so that's an interesting subject where Peter can share some information with us for 10 or 15 minutes, and then we can have an open discussion for the remainder of the time. So the subjects, I think what we're going to end up doing is creating a living document for the calls to say who would like to lead in co-facilitating or co-hosting the calls. I will just simply be the person that turns on the calls and sends out the reminder. And the calls are really about the community, for the community, of the community, by the community. Any kind of support that you need, I'm here to assist, but trying to have that circulate amongst all of you. So an opportunity to sign up and lead, an opportunity to help curate content or be part of the content. All of those opportunities are open to you. We are still nominating for ESHIP champions, so that information will also be shared again, because we need more people to lead. You're all leaders. Whether you take the super elevated position of the role of super volunteer, as Jody from Value Web calls you. So, so that's basically it. Eric and Tyler, did I leave out anything?
I didn't hear any of it.
Yeah, I didn't think so. You're
Okay.
pretty good at this.
Like you get to do it, yeah, a couple of times a month, and you start getting it down, right? So, so what is it that that would interest you in learning around shared vision? Like, what kind of things would help move the discussion forward? Or and it's a hard question to answer because you don't know what you don't know. So what is the thing that comes to mind?
I guess for me it's
Yeah, please go ahead.
okay. I guess for me it's understanding, what are the next steps for the deliverables that were set, if it was from ESHIP, or if that's what this process is to be. What are the deliverables to be accomplished to get this, to meet this goal within, I guess over the next year. But what are the next steps to make those happen?
Okay, so Tyler and Eric, since you've been on a lot of calls and been involved in a lot of discussions, what is your understanding? So I just want to make sure that what we're trying to get out there hopefully is something that's resonating.
Eric, you want to go first?
No.
Okay. I remember from the calls that I've been on 3, my understanding is first and foremost is getting everybody on page in regards to what is the overall, some of the larger overarching outcomes we hope to influence by creating a living dictionary, having some shared definitions that are similar. And then once we agree on the language and the overarching, a 30,000-foot view, right? Then we could potentially create kind of a universal pledge that would allow individuals that have the same mindset and goal focus to identify themselves in different markets, right? Who's taking the pledge in this town? That's the first person I want to work with, because they know they're on board. I think, is that anybody else? As far as deliverables, I haven't been on any of the project teams on anything on 3, so I can't speak any further.
What about on any of the other goals?
Sure. Well, in regards to how we've been talking about how to set up the calls and stuff, is that what you mean? Okay. Yeah, just a loose hierarchy, if you will, and we don't necessarily want to define one, but just a loose hierarchy of how does the conversation, information, data, and plans flow up and down the stream, in terms of the high level being the goal, the monthly goal call, or the groups, like Cecilia and Christine, on the foundation side that are leading a lot of these. And then just the different, not necessarily owners, but the captains, that have volunteered themselves, to what are the groups looking for and how do we pass that down to all the soldiers in the field, and what do the soldiers need to, fight the war? How do they report that, send those requests back to the in the rear with the gear, right? So how do we do that in a uniform way across all 7 goals, all 40+ projects, and still not burn each other out or piss each other off? Is kind of the what's happening right now, and Leah's doing a lot of work on that. And then just trying to get as much influence and much participation and contribution across the board and across the community on where they are and how they want to create what works. And then the last part was the project management. Are we still working on that, Cecilia?
Yeah, so
Kind of in here, right?
Yeah, so let me share what we're hoping for is
Yep.
We're hoping for MVPs, so minimum viable products coming out, projects that are coming out of these initiatives. We would love to get some pilots going, and so the foundation is currently working on what that looks like and how it falls into the work around the work that the foundation is doing. Currently, foundations basically fund initiatives and projects that fall under their mission. And so they'll put out things like the Kauffman Foundation has an inclusive open. So what they did was they said, we're looking for field level inclusive projects, and we will grant make to help support those. This is a very different process from that, because these initiatives, the 130 plus initiatives that were proposed, of which 30 initiatives have been kind of prioritized or raised up to the top as here's a good starting point, because starting with 130 is very hard. Starting with 30 is a little more manageable. So of these 30 initiatives that are a good place to start, we're trying to find a way that the foundation can grant make for what the community is asking for. These 30 initiatives came out of the community, and these are what are recognized as the things that the community needs to build a field called ecosystem building. So Christine is working with national resource providers to find out what they can help pledge or support in helping these initiatives come to fruition. And you know, of course, my focus is you, the ecosystem building practitioners. So in our minds, the perfect equation is a national resource provider that helps with sustainability and scalability, or just to house this idea and the project. Ecosystem builders, your ecosystem building practitioners, boots on the ground, the people that are doing the work that recognize what's needed. So a board of customers, and putting that together with an initiative, because those three things put together become our vision of what a perfect pilot project would be. Without one of those things, if a national resource provider takes an initiative and just goes with it, without an ecosystem building practitioner group that maybe validate it or kind of become an advisory, you leave out a segment that's necessary in our minds to become a more viable opportunity. If you have the ecosystem building practitioners and an initiative without the national resource providers, it's very hard for foundations in particular, because of the way that they grant make, to be able to fund or support that. And then if you have national resource providers and ecosystem building practitioners, but no initiative that they're working on, it's just a bunch of people hanging out together, which is very cool, but maybe not so productive. So that's why all three elements coming together become the minimum viable product for a pilot. So Eric, is that your understanding? And what did I leave out?
That's my understanding. I think I don't know that you necessarily left anything out. The thing that I think is interesting about this topic in general, and I haven't done a scan across all of them about this, but so some goals in many of the projects lend themselves to requests for proposal, for engagement with national resource partners, et cetera. In a way, this set of goals here does not do that in kind of that usual tactical strategic kind of way. So I'm not expecting, Corporation X, nonprofit, who are fantastic, that they're going to be given, or that they're going to try and get, $40K to try and come up with a mission, values, and outcome statement. That's just not going to happen. So because this has that, because in sort of the planning of this, since this is in a way a little bit looser and maybe a little less actionable, I think that might be a reason why we're not seeing maybe so much activity in the space. I think what's part of this goal is really foundational, but I think the level of involvement or the kind of energy around it is a little bit different, partially because you don't need to establish a product team, or it doesn't feel like you need to establish a project team in order to do these things. And that's the conclusion I'm coming to based on what I've seen here, if that makes any sense.
No, that makes total sense. Thank you for bringing that up. I think that this is it. While it is exactly the foundational part of all the things that we do, it's really hard because there isn't necessarily an output, right? There's an output if we get it right, that will resonate amongst all. But I think it's one of those things that if you go, oh, well, you know, what do ecosystem builders believe that that's the mission of their work? It's so meta, and trying to come up with something very simple is challenging. So at the table where the discussion took place at the ESHIP Summit, we talked about, you know, they spent a lot of time talking about the difference between a mission and a vision, and what a mission is for people and what a vision is for people, and then trying to come up with something really simple, because everybody is working in their very diverse and different communities, and then their roles are very different, but there's some kind of North Star, something that we solve for. Is it entrepreneur focused? Is it being able to support a robust community in whatever iteration that is? You know, we look at very simple missions, and this is the complexity of all of this, right? We look at very simple missions like the American Medical Association says, first, do no harm. Well, that's something that people can get around. I mean, people get, it's simple, but it encompasses so much. In law enforcement, serve and protect. So it's a very simple message. And I know Joey Aurora, who's with the Air Force, was sitting in on the table too. And so he's a good example of somebody who can help lead some of these thoughts, because the Air Force has a mission and a vision, right? So how do you get thousands of airmen and women to help support and drive an idea and stand behind it? That's core to the things that we do as ecosystem builders. We need to get behind something, and if my something doesn't look like your something, then it's really hard to stand together. So to Eric's point, it's not something that is necessarily a project team project, but it's something that we all work on. I think a dictionary, a living dictionary, is something that we can assist with, and maybe it's more of a wiki model where we just get a bunch of people to do a first blush, just like with the definitions. So when the goal definitions came up, there was the first blush, and then after the first blush, people kind of picked at the words, did a little wordsmithing, and fine-tuned it so that it was something that felt good for the majority of people. Does that make sense? So how do we get there from here? I don't know. I have some notions, but I really don't know. And then the fact is that this goal actually influences just about everything else that we work on, right? So goal 3 is connected to, I can't think of anything. Can any of you think of anything that goal 3, a mission vision, a living dictionary, what else is under here, and a pledge? What is there an initiative or goal it doesn't live with?
No.
Okay, so obviously this one's really important. We got to get this one right, or as close to right, and it can evolve. I think that that's important too, right? That there's room to evolve. So lots of questions, not a lot of answers. There are a couple of different documents that have been shown around, and I'm going to end up putting them into the general channel. One of them is a spreadsheet that I shared for those of you who are online. And those are the interdependencies between the goals. And then, of course, Jeff, our wonderful friend who does all of these things, also created another document with more of a visual. And ecosystembuilderhub.com, which is the storytelling site. There are interdependencies in a very cool graphic that's starting to connect all of those initiatives in a nice visual. So anyway, that's basically shared vision and such in a call. So getting outside of the ESHIP goal work, I'm curious because Amanda, you mentioned when you got on about getting people involved in the community and what the challenge is. And I know that collaborative culture and shared vision is kind of running in tandem. But and I want Tyler and Eric to think about this as well. What do you see that's really hard about trying to get people involved in your community? Like, is it that you don't share a vision, or what is it that's not translating?
Yeah, I think it's just trust and having that trust first. And it definitely is the shared vision as well, but it's trusting that you can work with those individuals to create that shared vision. That's what I see as the barrier right now in my community, and the inclusivity, let's say. So giving everyone that voice, not only just the voice, but the leadership to help, the leadership at the table to help with the direction and that shared vision of the community. So it's all kind of a chicken and egg, but the trust comes first.
Interesting. Tyler?
Yeah, I think for us, it's just still a lot of division between city, county, and individual. They are aware of each other. They don't necessarily respect each other's boundaries. They cross over and do each other's stuff all the time, and that creates a lot of problems, not only internally but externally. For the community itself. That really could do better, and that feeds from a much older, inclusion issues in this area, all the way across the board. So, so that there's a much younger crowd in this community that's trying really hard to do it right and do it from scratch, and they're making headway, but we find roadblocks around a lot of corners, from old institutions, that are just scooping up stuff that could be better disseminated amongst the community. So, but that's really our issues. I think once you see that, there's a large community that wants to trust, and there's a large community that is supporting and attending and participating, but they're doing it their own way, and they're doing it the hard way around, so they're not really letting a lot of outside influence affect this area, unfortunately. So it's a lot of people just pushing. Yeah.
Is that ownership? Because that's what I see in my personal community, right? There's a lot of ownership, and it's exactly. Like, yeah. So there's this is what I do. And so you shouldn't do what I do, and you go, it's like swim in your lane. But the lanes don't connect. So that makes it really difficult. Now, Eric, you have a city hat. So I'm gonna tap into you as a city person because you are. So how does that help or hinder the things that you try to do?
Let's see. So, let's see. And I wish I could show you my city hat today because it's great. It's awesome. Big yellow top hat. Just like the kind you need. I'm not sure if this is necessarily from the city perspective, but I'll mention we're one of a set of communities or regions that's currently working with Forward Cities on implementing kind of an ecosystem building project. And so this very topic about, and Amanda, chicken and egg is exactly correct. It's that, so we're looking at how do we combine the trust building with this, approach to facilitate a discussion around shared vision, and how do we try and work both of those two things together. So in the process, we're learning to, we're learning each other's, traits. we're becoming vulnerable. So we're trying to build in ways where we are first getting awareness and knowledge of each other, but then also beginning to build trust, but also doing it in a meaningful way. And what we're looking at in terms of that is coming up with that shared vision. So we're trying to do it, or at least the current plan is to try and do those things hand in hand, but recognize that it's somewhat cyclical or somewhat circular, that we have to, okay, we're going to learn a little bit, we're going to build a little trust, and then we're going to talk about what our shared vision is, and then we'll move on to a different aspect of that shared vision. I'm not sure if that really answers the question, but that's the current very tactical thing that I'm working on this week.
I think that it's solving for it in some way, and possibly, I know that the hard part about building trust is everybody thinks that you just do the thing. You build the trust, and then people will come and embrace that, and that's not necessarily true. I've shared in the past, I'm a big fan of the culture code that Dan Coyle wrote, and he talks about being vulnerable. And when you're vulnerable, people tend to trust you more. I know I've shared with Eric the discussion that we had sitting around the boardroom table when we were planning the last ESHIP summit a few months prior. And when Victor said, you know what, we don't have all the answers, and we're not going to solve for it by the next summit, and we're going to get it wrong. And that vulnerability from the vice president of entrepreneurship for the Kauffman Foundation, sitting at this table, I mean, that's a big thing, right? And so, but it took so much pressure off, and you don't always get leaders that will be vulnerable, but the power of somebody in that position to be able to say, yes, we really want to try very hard to do this, but I can't guarantee that it's going to be the thing. And you just say, we've got the best people at the table to work on this thing, which we absolutely do. I cannot think of more amazing, empowered, and empowering people than all the people that show up on these calls and show up the summit and come to the Facebook page and the Slack channel, and they give. I think that the difference in, we talk at Startup Champions about give before you get, but we don't say give and don't get, right? I think that there has to be, the reality is we have to get something in return. It's about us. It's not like, oh, I'm just going to give and give and give. It's not sustainable to just have somebody take in one direction. So there has to be, if it's the sense of fulfillment that you get, the pat on the shoulder, all of those things, the accolades, I mean, that little something is worth a lot. And I think that we do ourselves a disservice when we say we're just going to give and we're just givers, because we're important and need something in return as well. So so I don't know what that looks like, but I think that Eric touched upon it. It's maybe sharing a couple of little wins along the way, and the little wins build into bigger wins, right? Because you start working together.
Yeah, I hope so. And I was just going to mention, I share that I saw Brad Feld on some webinar kind of speaking about this, and it was like, no, it's not the tweak or the not necessarily spin, but the way that he described it, it was that it's give before you get doesn't necessarily mean that you're not getting something out of it. It's just that it's not transactional. It's not just that, but that's a component of it. Right. The reason why many people are in is because they want a better community, and rising tide, and both themselves and their organizations and the people they care about are going to do better. So they're definitely looking for some benefit from this work, but it's not a, it's not a total charity. You give and burn out and go away.
It's relational, right? It's relational, not transactional, right? Or it's also reciprocal in some way. What are you thinking, Tyler?
I'm good. I think that all makes sense.
Okay, that's good. And Amanda, does it all make sense to you too?
Oh yeah, absolutely. No.
All right, we're set. All right, everybody have a wonderful day.
Well, and I was so one thing I'll throw out there, because this reminds me of we're also kind of relaunching our Code for America brigade, our local civic tech open data kind of group. So one of the things that I think about with that, and it kind of lends itself to the kind of work that's necessary under this goal, is there's relatively straightforward ways of doing sort of deploy-a-thon, hackathon kind of things where you get a clump of people together over the course of a couple hours or a weekend in order to write up a couple of these documents and then kick them out to the community. So depending on whether the champions who identify themselves at ESHIP, if for whatever reason they don't show up, this is something that, you know, a couple of folks could just say, yeah, you know, it's about time we should get this handled and just schedule something. So it's relatively straightforward. It's important. It may not be anyone's first choice for what they need to do, but it's important enough that I think we could recruit people to do that.
Excellent. So in recruiting people to do that, Lauren Higgins and I are going to be working on creating a facilitation webinar. So the facilitation webinar is to help people who are going to help lead these calls and help with ideas around facilitation and what needs, putting together an agenda, creating a checkpoint document, kind of a punch list, as well as ideas where the community can chime in. So that will be taking place probably end of the month or beginning of next month. Remember, foundational, slow. So when I say these, take that with a grain of salt. And if there are any other things that you think of that would help, you know, I thought about maybe trying to find somebody at Wiki to be able to talk to us about how you co-collaborate in mass, right? Because that's something that we're going to probably need in order to get goal 3 up and running. It's like putting out some input and then having people be motivated to check in or I don't know. That's just something that I'm bouncing around in my head. Like, you know, there's a couple of hours you're sitting there waiting for your next flight or something at the airport, and you go, you know, let me take a look at this and let me add a few things. It could be something just loose like that, but whatever that looks like. So anyway, so think about people that have shared vision. Or help create a shared vision, people that talk about board governance. And I have a couple of friends of mine who are board governance specialists for nonprofits. Those might be a good resource to help create a mission and a vision for ecosystem building. At least it's an idea, and we'll see how it goes. So we're not, again, solving for this goal on this particular call, but we will just keep going at it. And I appreciate your time. I'm going to give you back a couple of minutes of your day, especially since some people have to leave. So, so here is a Norris-inspired idea where there is an unreasonable ask or an unreasonable that you think is just not tangible. Or just something you need help with. So having been to 1 million cups, you know that at the end of the 1 million cups sessions, we always ask the presenters what the 1 million cups community can do for you. So I want to put it out there and say, give your ask, what can the ESHIP community do for you? And I will start with Eric. What can the ESHIP community do for you, Eric?
So I'll go with an easy one that I've shared on a different call. If more people on whatever social media platform that they feel comfortable, if more people can just do a tiny bit more, meaning an additional like or an additional share or some other kind of thing to identify that they support something that somebody else in this ecosystem building world is doing, just a tiny lift on each person's behalf, like maybe even one a week. We've got enough people that are part of our community that kind of helps us all level up and helps make this entrepreneurial ecosystem building effort more prominent. So that's my ask to the whole community. A lot of little helps. I will pass it off to Amanda.
Okay. Yeah, I think my ask for the community is just, I guess, being there to emotionally support each other as ecosystem builders, if that makes sense. Whether it's finding that one individual in the community that you can just, send a text or a Slack message to and just say, hey, today's been rough, and they just listen to you. We talked about that shared vision, and in our community, there's kind of two factions, the hustle harder mentality and all will work, and the, okay, let's think about the whole health of the person and wherever you sit on that. But I think that expressing that vulnerability and having that emotional person, or that being able to express that the need for emotional support to somebody else is useful and realistic, because not only is entrepreneurship hard, but building these communities and supporting entrepreneurs is incredibly hard.
Excellent. Tyler.
Share your stories. Honestly, anytime for all of that, anytime that you think there's an opportunity that garnering attention to somebody, some cause, some community that needs help. We have a team kind of building itself to activate and be able to support in the way that Eric mentioned, as well as Amanda, you mentioned. So for me, it's just continue to think about, what stories we can tell, the best way to tell them, and doesn't mean you have to do it. It just means you have to let us know what the story is that needs to be told. So, but thank you, Cecilia.
Excellent. All right. And the community can help keep showing up for the community. So I appreciate your time and your energy, and I'm really glad to be able to be doing the work with you. So have a great rest of your week. And Tyler, I will see you in a couple of days, and
Yep.
And we'll be in touch. Have
See
a good
you on
one.
Rockin'.
Friday.
All right.
Thanks very much. Take
All right.
care, everyone.
Take care.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.